Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Angie Dickinson. She's just awesome, and she has a wide appeal for just about everyone. If you like any type of movie or TV show from the 1950s to 80s, you've come across Angie Dickinson. She slowed down considerably in the 90s and 2000s before retiring, but established a large body of work that will be forever enjoyed. She never could have predicted her life would turn out the way it did. Angie was born as Angeline Brown, but always went by Angie. She was raised Roman Catholic and went to Catholic high school and Catholic college. After graduating from a public college with a business degree, she intended to be a writer. After all, her dad was a publisher. Maybe she would have a shot at that. During the end of her college days, she worked as an airport secretary and married her first husband, Gene Dickinson, a football player. The marriage only lasted 8 years, but Angie kept his last name. She kept his last name because she had already started to make a name for herself in acting. Less than 2 years after she married Gene, things started happening quick. She tried out for the Miss America beauty pageant, but didn't get it. This, however, got her spotted by a casting agent. Angie quickly got to be one of the 6 showgirls on the Jimmy Durante show in 1954. 1954 became a very eventful year for Angie. On New Year's Eve of that year, she made her first actual acting debut in an episode of the Western series Death Valley Days. This was a cool show that featured a different true story of the Old West in every episode. She also got parts in other TV shows that year like I Led 3 Lives and The Mickey Rooney Show. She had a walk-on role in the movie Lucky Me. Pretty good for someone who bombed out at being Miss America. The next year was even better. They were all one-off parts, but you got to see her in shows that guys like to watch. Westerns, cop shows, comedies. This was always her jam. She was especially good at playing sleazy, deceitful beauties. At this time, she seemed to be equally prevalent in TV and movies. Usually, an actress worked primarily in one medium or the other. Her first leading lady role in a movie came in 1956 with the western Gun the Man Down opposite James Arness. This trend continued for a while, but she still didn't have that big breakout yet. Nothing that she was in really clicked with audiences in a huge way. That changed in 1959 with the legendary Western film Rio Bravo. It was a John Wayne movie, the top of the Western heap, with an impressive cast including Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, and Walter Brennan. She played a flirty gambler called Feathers, who was attracted to John Wayne's character. After this, Angie Dickinson was a definite Hollywood leading lady in many high-profile films with the biggest stars around. Angie was a sex symbol, no doubt about it, but it was important to her to not be typecast. She made herself a honey blonde as opposed to a platinum blonde, because she didn't want to be lumped into that category of Marilyn Monroe type actresses. Those actresses weren't taken seriously, and they didn't always get the best roles. That's one problem Angie didn't have to deal with. Her most acclaimed movie from this early part in her career is Point Blank from 1967. This was a violent crime film with Lee Marvin that gained a sharp cult following. Angie Dickinson was a star, for sure, but there was just one thing. In all this time, she never had top billing. She was the leading lady, supporting actress, or delightful cameo, but never the main person. That changed in 1974 in a big way. 2 major things happened this year. She got her own TV series with the unique cop show Policewoman. That debuted on September 13th. Her first top-billed movie came out on September 19th and was called Big Bad Mama. It was a double shot of success that made her an even bigger star than she already had been. Angie was reluctant to do the policewoman show at first. She had made an earlier appearance on the cop show Police Story that resonated with producers and the public. They retooled her character to make her fit her own series, even renaming her to Sergeant Pepper Anderson. Angie didn't want to do the show at first because she knew it was going to take up all her time and keep her from other projects. It also wasn't going to pay as well as the movies did. She was assured, however, that Policewoman would make her a household name, and boy did it ever. If it wasn't for Policewoman, it's doubtful Angie Dickinson would have been as long-lasting in popularity in the decades to come. What's important to note is that Policewoman was groundbreaking in a number of ways. In the most obvious way, Angie Dickinson was, in real life, in her 40s. When the show started, she was 42, going on 43. From the jump, she was intended to be a sex symbol in a serious cop drama. Especially in the 1970s, once an actress reached 40, her career as a sex symbol was over. Angie kicked down that door, making it possible for women past their 20s and early 30s to still be perceived in that way. Today, it's not uncommon for a 40-plus woman to be celebrated as being hot. The series has also been pointed out as being empowering to women. Pepper was a competent policewoman who solved difficult cases. It actually gets credit for inspiring so many women around the United States to become police officers. It also influenced other female-led TV shows like Wonder Woman, The Bionic Woman, Charlie's Angels, and Cagney and Lacey. All of these were successful, and over the decades, I believe Policewoman was responsible in some way in making all the female-led action movies possible. Besides that, the show just had a real good cast. Earl Holliman was Sergeant Bill Crowley, Pepper's commanding officer. They had a good screen chemistry together. Then she had fellow cops Pete Royster, played by Charles Deercop, and his partner Joe Stiles, played by Ed Bernard. Joe Stiles, in my opinion, is one of the coolest black cop characters, if not the coolest, in TV history. I really like how Ed Bernard played that character. The show ran for 4 seasons through 1978 for a total of 91 episodes. It was an immediate hit and won Angie awards like the Golden Globe and Emmy nominations. She had appeared on TV regularly for 20 years before the show started, but was now considered a TV star in a big way. She made so many other appearances on TV during this time because of this show. It did keep her from doing feature films for the entirety it was on, but she had star power now that couldn't be ignored. In less than 1 week after Policewoman started, Angie was the star of the movie Big Bad Mama. The movie was a hit. It's doubtful that Policewoman, which had only 1 episode on at the time, was responsible for this movie's popularity. But did Big Bad Mama help make Policewoman more popular? Probably. It certainly didn't hurt the show, and, as a matter of fact, Policewoman became more provocative to play up to that success. Pepper would be put into the sexiest outfits and poses just because. Big Bad Mama was a sexploitation crime comedy about a Ma Barker sort of figure in the Great Depression. She had 2 hot daughters, and together they went on a crime spree with various sexual misadventures. Angie appeared nude in several scenes, and this movie gained her a whole new audience of younger male fans. Despite how this movie ends, it got a sequel in 1987 called Big Bad Mama 2. I like this movie as well, but it's a reboot rather than a sequel. Angie plays the same character by the same name, but the rest of the cast is entirely different, and the backstory is different. A lot of people don't like this movie as well as the first, because the idea of reboots were especially confusing back then, let alone now. Big Bad Mama died in the first one, only to be alive and well in the second with no explanation. Part 2 is definitely its own movie, and if you ignore everything about the first, you may like this better. It's certainly a bit more lighthearted and positive than the original. After Policewoman, Angie's career dipped a little bit, but not for long. She appeared in the 1980 thriller film Dressed to Kill and got noticed all over again. In 1981, she appeared as one of the title characters in Charlie Chan and the Dragon Queen, a parody of the Charlie Chan films. I love the real Charlie Chan movies, and really don't see this as one of them. It didn't do all that well in theaters at the time, but since then, developed a cult following. Into the 1980s, Angie was still as popular as ever, but she was starting to make some poor career decisions. These set her back a bit. She turned down the role that went to Linda Evans in Dynasty. Not such a good move. She also turned down being in the Dynasty spinoff, The Colbys. That show may have been more successful with Angie in it. Johnny Carson produced a sitcom for her called The Angie Dickinson Show. After 2 episodes were filmed, she turned down the show because she didn't think she was funny enough. Maybe she was and maybe she wasn't, but being in a show produced by Johnny Carson was a good thing, and she should have given it a shot. It could have been successful, and it would have established her as a sitcom star. Another feather in her cap. In 1982, she starred in another cop woman show called Cassie and Company. On the outside, it seemed like a good idea. It was basically like Policewoman. She was a police officer turned private investigator who played up her sex appeal to solve cases. It lasted only 13 episodes and was quickly forgotten. It's hard to say what made this show fail. I don't think people wanted to rehash a Policewoman. She had just done that. That's my opinion of what happened. It may have more to do with network politics rather than the quality of the show. That happens far more often than you think. At any rate, Cassie and Company was a bust. Angie's biggest success during the 1980s was being the star of TV movies. For the entirety of the 80s, she did scads of TV movies, usually thrillers. She continued this into the 90s, although they were far less frequent. Her work in feature films didn't entirely dry up, but it was less substantial than her TV work. Still, when she appeared in movies like 1995's Sabrina and 2000's Pay It Forward, she carried a certain amount of star power with her. In 2001, she made a cameo in Ocean's 11, a remake of the original in which she also appeared. Angie's last acting role was in the 2009 Hallmark TV movie Mending Fences. The movie was well received, but Angie simply wanted to retire after that. Who could blame her? She had a remarkable acting career from the very start, way back in 1954. There wasn't much, if anything, that she overlooked in that profession. Angie had done it all. In her personal life, Angie married for a second time to musician Burt Bacharach in 1965. They were married for 16 years, but towards the end had a trial separation where they dated other people. Angie had an on and off affair with Frank Sinatra, who she considered the love of her life. With Bacharach, though, she had a daughter named Nikki, who was born autistic. Sadly, Nikki took her life in 2007. The marriage to Bacharach surprises me a bit. There's nothing wrong with him, but his personality seemed very mild. Angie sizzles. Still, they were married before, during, and after her time as Big Bad Mama and Policewoman. Angie never married again, but she did have a serious relationship with the musician Billy Vera in the 1980s. She seemed to go for music types more than anyone, but, oddly, was not in the music business herself. She proved herself to be sexy while still being empowering. No woman can say that Angie did anything to set women back. Meanwhile, guys can still watch her in acting roles and go, "Oh, Angie Dickinson." For that, she gets the title of Babe of the Day, Babe of the Day.